All right, everyone. It's Friday, and it's time for Q&A with Alan, but he's not here. And we have Allie. It's Allie and Marshall today. How you doing today, Allie?
I'm great, Marshall. Thanks for having me.
So Alan can't be here because he's on an airplane. And, they had this funny rule that you're not allowed to broadcast from airplanes. I don't know why, but it's a rule.
I know. No Zoom meetings, no telephone calls. Come on.
Yeah. So anyway, so Allie's so gracious to jump in at last minute to help us out. And I think it might even be a better show. I don't know, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And we miss Alan. Alan's the best. Don't want to steer anybody wrong, but, so happy. So if you don't know who Allie is, Allie, why don't you just take 2 seconds and just introduce yourself in case somebody hasn't ever seen you before.
Sure. I'm Allie Bandholzer. I own Wear Your Spirit Warehouse. We do what many of you do, apparel decorating and promotional items. And we are located in Southern Maryland, about 45 minutes southeast of DC.
Great. And here is Allie's website. If you want to check it out, it's wearyourspiritwarehouse.com, and it's an Inksoft store. So if you got questions about Inksoft, Allie's the go-to person. She's in, right? So anyway, so let's say hi to some people and take care of some business, and then we got some topics. So Ghosta is here from Sweden, as usual. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good to see you here. Richard says, I've always preferred Allie. Right. So thanks so much, Richard.
Richard's awesome.
Dave Egger says, good morning. Yes, Allie's much better. Hey, it was really fun seeing you, Dave, in Long Beach. Appreciate that. Charles says, hey, Marshall and Allie, happy Friday, everyone. Dan's here. Hi, he's in from Huntsville. Keith's here. Good morning, you two. And then Gusta says, Allie, one of the power women in the trade. Yes. Josh is here. Good morning, Josh. Good morning. So good to see you guys. So don't forget, if you're watching, we would love more viewers. So if you could just do us a huge favor and share that you're watching, it would be really great. You might mention maybe that Alan's not here and Allie's here. I don't know. And
poor Alan.
Yeah, I know. We pick on him. We love him.
Yes,
so,
we do.
But anyway, please share that you're watching. And also, this is a Q&A show, and it only works if you have questions or comments. So we really love interaction. So please say hello, say where you're watching from. And then also, if you have a question later on, we would love to get that answered, because that's what we're all about. And then, Kim's here. Good morning, Kim. What's going on?
I'm nervous. I'm nervous now. Richard's in the house, so I won't discuss screens or screen tension. And with Alan gone, I'm not going to discuss chemicals or I'm kidding.
You can talk about 2-second lean all you want. He likes that.
No, I'm good with lean. I'm just not going to,
Yeah. So
not making screens.
From sunny, beautiful Arizona. Yes, it is sunny today. We had a kind of a crazy storm here last night, though.
Oh, I'm kind of jealous. We're all hunkering down. We're getting, the forecast is anywhere from 2 inches to, oh my God.
Right. And then he wrote the whole book, right? Something about Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know what's going on with that. Is there a football game? Some football games going on?
Something.
Hey, Peter, thanks. I'm not going to read this whole thing. So can we get a go Chiefs from anyone? I'll say go Chiefs, just because I like you. Allie from Brian. There you go.
Nice. I feel so loved.
Yeah, well, everybody loves you. All right. So, hey, we're going to take care of some business real quick and pay some bills and thank our sponsor, GSG. And we really love them and appreciate them for sponsoring the show. And so let's roll their commercial. Here we go. All right. That's a catchy tune. And I know Dave said it's time to mute. We like that song, I think. That song to me means they like us. So Brian says, go Chiefs, by the way. And Daryl's here. Hey, Daryl. Hey, that's a good looking headshot you got there, pal. Wonder where you got it. I'm teasing, of course. I know exactly where he got it. I was there. We'll get to that in a minute. So Peter's here. Pete and Val from Port Huron, Michigan. You guys watch all the time. Thanks. And then Cindy's also probably listening to us in the background while she's running her embroidery machines. So thanks, Cindy. Appreciate you. So, Allie, you ready to get into some topics?
I am ready. Let's go.
What do you think the first one's going to be? Do you remember?
Long Beach?
Hey, as a matter of fact, it is. So you flew in, went to Long Beach on purpose, despite everybody saying, hey, it's going to be a crappy show and whatever, you know. So you did it. And so let's talk about, I know what I saw and heard and everything. I'm very curious about what your take was on it. And also, if you're watching, please leave your comments about your experience at Long Beach or any questions while Allie's talking. So Allie, what's your takeaway on Long Beach?
Yeah. So, I come to the shows usually with intention. And it's twofold. It's always, what do I need? Am I looking for new blanks? Am I looking for new equipment? Things that way. And then the other piece of the shows for me is always the networking. So Long Beach did not disappoint. It was definitely smaller than in years past, but understandable. I'm glad that we're back in person. That was great. Got to walk into booths and actually talk to distributors and vendors and things that way. The beautiful thing was you could walk in and not stand in line for 20 minutes to talk to somebody. So you're able to get through the show pretty quickly. And then some of the vendors really were able to do stalls always, Josh Ellsworth always is out there with his mic and doing demos and things that way. And Rock had a great presentation. They had a stage with some live music, but they also did some panel discussions with some Q&A. And I got to participate in the one with women in apparel decorating. Right. And
well, why don't you talk about that real quick? Because I think that was kind of a unique thing.
Yeah. So Rock sponsors with Screenprint magazine the Women in Apparel Decorating Awards every year. They've done it for 2 years now. And I was honored to be one of the awardees the first year. And so they got together 4 of the women who had won the award and Adrienne Palmer, who's the editor of Screenprint magazine. And we got to sit up and answer questions and discuss women in the industry and the impact of women in the industry and the need for more involvement of women in the industry. And I'll be honest, I was kind of skeptical with the topic of whether we'd really have an audience that was interested. And I was very pleasantly pleased to see the number of people that stopped what they were doing and actually came and listened to what we had to say. So it was pretty cool. It was a great opportunity.
It's an important thing. And who was on the panel with you? Was it Marge was there, right? Who else?
Yep, Marge was there. Brandy, you're going to test me on names and look at Brandy's in Oklahoma, and Val, who's out in California.
Right. Okay.
All shop owners, different sizes, little different niches and things that way, but all powerhouse women in the industry.
Right. Well, I think it's really important that the industry recognizes that, and diversity and some of the other things that, are really important topics. I love, what Screenprinting magazine is doing, and, Rock's a champion of that. So that's really great to see. And I like the fact, we had our, Shirt Lab, we had our own women's nexus. So,
yeah,
it's something that I'm really kind of interested in and wanting to foster more engagement about. So I thought that was really cool. I wish I could have watched it. I believe I was teaching a class when that was going on, but I think that's really great. So you were there for networking, and you went by a couple of booths. Did you find any suppliers? I was talking with a couple of the other attendees there, and one of the things they were looking for with secondary and tertiary apparel vendors because they're tired of not being able to find things. Did you have any success with that?
I did. I have had a great relationship with our primary apparel suppliers, so I wasn't on the look for that. I was on the look for hats. I'm not going to name names, but I'm not thrilled with the way our primary hat distributor has been conducting business in the last 6 months to a year. So I was on the look for some other options, and I certainly found those. So that was exciting. And then I was looking for direct to film, looking at getting, me and data. I want data. I want to know the numbers. And so it wasn't just about looking at equipment and equipment costs, but it was looking at print speeds and quality and costs of prints and figuring out where my break-even point is from outsourcing that to bring it in-house.
Yeah, so like you couldn't throw a rock without hitting a new direct-to-film printer there, right?
Yep.
Did you find any that passed the alley test, or are you still looking?
I'm still looking. I need to, I gather a lot of information at the shows. And the most important thing for me when I walk into a booth is to get contact information of somebody that I can call and talk to. Because generally at the booths, the questions I ask, they don't always have the answer for. They may need some time to dig in a little bit.
Right.
Or, I need some time to process everything that's been discussed. And so, I get contact information, I come back and I send emails and I make phone calls. There's definitely some that are of interest. There are name brand ones that are probably a little more expensive, but have a little bit more of a track record. And then there are some, new companies and some imports that have been brought in that I just need to get more information, especially when it comes to direct to film. What are the print heads that are in the printers? Because if they're using standard inkjet print heads, they're not going to last and they're going to be expensive to replace.
I know. And I think this so reminds me of the early days of DTG when it was innovated and, stuff comes out, and then everybody was doing DTG, and then who were the lasting companies, right? And it kind of feels the same way. And the buzz that I heard was really all about the Cobra Flex model. That was like the biggest, I think, just maybe because they have a cool name. I don't know. But I'm interested to see when the bigger equipment dealer manufacturers like M&R and whatever, what they're going to do with it. Because I think they have a little more money behind things and maybe they can do a better job. I just don't know, right? I think it's really too early to tell. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do something. And if you have bought a printer or whatever, and I know tons of shops are doing it. David Slagle has 2 that he got from China, and he is, with B Graphics, he's absolutely doing a really great job with that. And there's no waiting, right? People are doing stuff. But I think you just got to make really good decisions based on the information that you have at hand. So if you were at the show, I haven't read the comments yet, but if you were at the show and you were looking at a DTF, did you buy one? What did you think? That kind of stuff. Leave a comment. Very interested in that. Let me just go through some of these comments real quick. So Keith says it was a smaller show, but it was nice. Networking was amazing. Good times. Hurley says, good morning. No Alan today. No, Alan's on an airplane. So Allie's helping out. So sorry, Hurley. But it's okay. Cindy says, kind of fun when it was a small show. You really get some good visiting time, not good for the vendors. I talked to a lot of the vendors, Cindy, and to a person, they were doing business. They were selling stuff. They were talking. They were solving customers' problems, that type of stuff. And I know everybody wants a huge crowd and everything, but I think sometimes they like to spend more time with people and have better quality conversations. And they all seemed really happy. And I talk to a lot of people, and it just seems like they were very excited about a lot of stuff. So that's kind of that take, right? So Dave says, GPM, I'm a fan. Richard says, I had a very productive networking at Long Beach. William says, hey. Simon says, good morning. Peter, here you go. DTF is the real deal. I doubt that direct-to-film is going to affect a mass conversion of the garment decorating industry from screen printing to DTF due to its higher costs and slower production speed. Rather, I see the technology as the fourth channel in the garment printing process: screen printing, hybrid screen DTG, direct-to-garment, and now direct-to-film. Which is the best solution? It's all about the type and volume of garments you're printing. And I can't can't agree more. And where I see this really happening is with people who do a lot of online stores. I think it really makes it easy to print this stuff and get stuff printed. It really reduces the error rate. I like the whole process. I think in some degrees it could be faster than doing direct to garment just because of the whole pre-treatment situation. And there seems to be a lot of errors that cause with pre-treatment because you didn't add enough or there's too much, or, also with DTG is limiting on what type of garments you can actually decorate on. And DTF is, it's kind of ubiquitous, whichever thing it is,
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going to go. I think DTF is going to have the greatest impact on DTG because the printers really are DTG printers, same ink, same printers. They're just reversing the print order of the colors and putting the white on top and then adding the powder and doing a partial cure. So the time to produce is less than DTG. You can also gang load up images and print them, so your costs will be a little bit lower. And you can put the transfers then into storage and have them ready. We've done a lot of printing with transfers in the past, and we've been able to, our shop record still stands at 8 minutes from the time we've gotten an order in, printed it on a shirt, and had it in the UPS driver's hands.
That's good.
If you can have transfers, whether they're traditional transfers or DTF transfers, ready to do that, you're going to start out Amazoning Amazon. Right.
And another thing that I want to highlight here about direct to film transfers, a thing that I think a lot of people are having is difficulty finding skilled screen printing operators. It's like a unicorn these days, right? And having a transfer film solution allows you to decorate the shirt with a lower skilled employee. It could be a college kid, right? It doesn't have to be somebody who's been doing it a while, knows all the things and what to do and how to register, because you're just printing a thing and you're using heat press, and you can train somebody in literally about 10 minutes, right? And I think the people that aren't in, they're in the middle of nowheresville, wherever state they are, they can find people to do that way easier than people who can run a screen printing press. So for some businesses, this could be a way that they could really help grow their business and get employees, because it's an easier to go to market strategy, I think.
Yeah. And it takes up a smaller footprint, and your cost to entry now is pretty similar to setting up a manual press operation. Right.
And okay. So we got some comments. Let's get those. So Sean says TGIF, you bet. Peter says development of an industrial DTF system is a high priority initiative for M&R. Love to see what's going on with that, Peter. We need to let me in on it. Keith says, learn my DTG can do DTF. Order materials. Can't wait to try. Megan Urban has the same printer. Got her materials in and says it's awesome. So excited to try it. And the Equipment Zone booth, Jay Bassell and Terry Combs were showing people how to do this, and it looked really simple. He showed me, and so basically you just flip the image and print your use your DTG printer to print the film. And then you shake the adhesive powder on it, shake off the excess, and throw it in your dryer tunnel, and it cures the adhesive. and then you can cut it out or whatever, and then use it to apply to the garment. It looked pretty easy. My only worry was that excess adhesive on the film could leave a mark on the shirt or something. But I guess if you're diligent about making sure that adhesive is only on the image, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have that challenge.
It's kind of the same challenge as when you do screen print.
Yeah. So we've screen print transfers for a long time, and it's not that difficult. It's just you gotta make sure you're doing it right. So it's really a lot about processes, right? I mean, we're process people. So Peter says DTF crushes DTG when printing on polyester nylon blends have a high percentage of poly. Yes.
Yep.
Ghosta says we use DTF to make our DTG printer to work every day. Good. Charles says the benefit of DTG over DTF, though, is the print hand.
I'm going to disagree a little bit because we have DTG and I have DTF transfers. You'd be hard pressed to tell the difference.
Yeah. Well, I guess
it's going to be
It depends on the final result and the process and the equipment and whatever, right? So, and here's the other thing is, as printers, we care about that. I can tell you that the end customer could care less a lot of the time. Some people do, don't take me wrong. Okay. Some people do, but the end customer doesn't care most of the time. So, Frank says, good morning. Good seeing you, Frank. Never did find your glasses.
I think they're with the Uber.
Yeah. So Dan says, it may be my perception, but I have a dislike for DTG because of the hand holding needed with the process. Is DTF less hand holding, easier to work with? Can you have anyone walk in and operate it with a cheat sheet? I would say it's probably easier. The biggest problem with DTG, of course, is the pre-treatment. So unless you're getting a Cornette or one of the other higher end that has the inline pre-treatment, right? That's what the big problem is that whole step, right? So with DTF, you're printing the transfers and then you're just cutting them out and then you're applying it to the garment. And I think it's a little easier from a training mental part, right? It's just kind of it's the same thing every time, and it's easier to go to. And I think you have less errors. So I think it's easier to train people for that. Allie, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, same thing. I'd agree with what you said 100%. The one thing that we know is the most challenging part in DTF, it's the same in DTG, is color matching, getting your Pantones correct, or getting your grays truly gray, or your neons. Now, there was at the show a company that's offering neon inks. So if you really want to do those bright neons, so that was new. And I was curious about those. I didn't get much of a chance to talk to them. I think it's really in the pre-press and setup of the artwork is where it all comes in. So if you've got a graphic designer or that's not going to be any different than on a traditional press on DTG or DTF. But the actual process of printing the shirt, I think, is you could train somebody in 5 minutes.
Right. So Peter has a comment: direct-to-film printing process, which has some of the same limitations as traditional DTG, lower production speed and higher consumable costs, with the same capability to produce unit of one quantities. Another major feature of DTF is ability to apply a high-quality photorealistic graphic to almost any garment and fabric type. Correct. That's great. Hey, Mike's here, says hi.
Mike has new puppies.
I know, I saw the picture. We have had multiple middle school age students help with transfer pressing. Keeping them in task was the most difficult part. There you go.
And ensuring straight, consistent placement.
M&R, the price of India now. Not sure what that means. You're going to have to elaborate, Peter. That's confusing. One major concern with DTF is the reported toxicity of certain DTF adhesives used in the process. Good point. I didn't even think about that. The industry needs to get some answers from chemistry suppliers before diving into the deep end of the pool. So there should be an SDS sheet on that. So maybe anybody that's doing that have you looked in the SDS sheet to see what's going on with that? So very interesting, especially the powders, because that could be an inhalation issue, right? So good thinking, Peter. Charles says, do you have to cut and weave the DTG transfer like vinyl? Well, you got to cut it out of the film, right? So if you ganged up, 20 left chests, you got to cut them out, but that's just a couple minutes with some scissors. You don't need anything special.
Yeah, it's not like vinyl where you're picking out every little piece. I mean, it prints the image just like a silkscreen transfer.
Right. Frank says, from what I learned at the show, you can still not push print and walk away. There's still some babysitting of the machine. Well, I think we're early in the stage of innovation here, right? So you still got to, look at stuff and know things. Hey, Charlie's here. Good seeing you, Charlie. Charlie just says DTF. I don't know what that means.
I think he said DTG. I think he meant DTF in his previous comment.
I'm sorry. So do you have to cut and weed a DTF transfer like mine? No. Be on the lookout for a new system that is a small format carousel with an automatic pretreatment system, high airflow quartz flash cures and heat transfer presses, one operator, 300 plus perfectly pre-treated garments per hour. Well, that's interesting. Is that an M&R, obviously, thing?
And is that just pre-treat?
That's pre-treatment for DTG, right? Is that what you're talking about?
It sounds like it. You'd have to have a lot of DTGs to keep up with that volume of pre-treat.
And Bruce says, good morning from Arizona. Well, there's some shops, I've been to them, like they run DTG 24 hours a day because they're permanent suppliers, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, their pre-treatment solution comes in a Gaylord cube, right?
Right.
So they're a little different than you probably. But
yes.
So that's very interesting. So, all right. So is there anything else about Long Beach that you really enjoyed or thought was really cool?
Well, we touched on a little bit, but the networking, just the opportunity, between Shirt Lab Tribe and then, women in garment decorating and just bumping into new people, meeting new people on the show floor. But, me in relationship building. So the more people I can get into my circle and have as resources to bounce ideas off of and things that way. So the networking is every bit as much important to me as walking the show floor.
Did you take any classes, Allie?
I didn't this time.
Oh, well,
Sorry.
I taught 2 classes, and I know and I was talking with Kim with Paisley Joe Designs, and she took a whole bunch of classes, and her comment to me was the classes this year were better than any other of the years that she's been going.
Nice.
And I know that there were some fantastic classes. I know Eric Campbell always brings the heat with that. I know Josh and Jenna with Stalls were doing a good job with that. There's a lot of special effects printing. Charlie does his great printing series, and he trains lots of people. And if I'm not mistaken, he always has 80 to 100 people in those classes when he does stuff.
I'm super excited. We got to talk to Charlie. What was it? Saturday night, I think it was. And again, it's that networking and making those connections. And I'm going to because I'm in DC, I'm going to grab my primary press operator and get him up to Atlantic City to take Charlie's class in March. So.
Well, I'll see you there. I'll be at that show.
Sweet. See you there.
So, Charlie, how many people were in your classes on average? Can you let us know? I think overall for me, I talked with so many people. I should have counted. I didn't. But the Long Beach show was their first trade show. They've never been to any. Some are just getting really into like last year, there were so many new companies because of COVID or something. Their side hustle became the main thing they're doing. And, they're all these startups. They're all there hungry for information, hungry for things. So I think it was a really interesting thing. And I think as people that we've been in the industry for a long time, and we think, well, the show's smaller, I'm not going to go, or they're all this poo-pooing the show. For these people, it was like, my brain's about to explode. I've learned so much. I can't believe it. It's like they're already on overload and they can't even imagine if the show was bigger for them because they've never been to one. So I think it's a glass half full, half empty kind of a situation, right? And that was kind of interesting. And I met people from Canada, from Alaska, from Hawaii. I met people from all states. Like just about every state you can imagine. I was talking with somebody from there. And everybody was there to learn. They were there to buy. They were there to solve problems. It was a good thing, and it was just very fascinating to see. But on the other hand, I was still kind of a little depressed that it wasn't like the old Long Beach. I got to be honest with you. I missed the craziness. So, but it's still good. And I loved all the Shirt Lab stuff. So if you came by our booth, appreciate you coming by. If you got your headshot, appreciate that. That was a lot of fun to do. And in case you didn't know, we hired a professional photographer to do social media headshot updates, right? And a lot of people took advantage of that. That was a lot of fun. But I'll tell you what was surprising is the amount of people who didn't want their picture taken. It's free. We couldn't give it away. I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And it was because it's a bad hair day, Allie.
It's bad hair day today.
Yeah, it was like, my hair. I'm like, it's free. You don't have to use it. But what if it's a good picture?
What if it turns out great? Mine turned out great. I did have a little bit of a heads up that you were going to be doing it, though, so I was prepared.
Yeah.
And I came to the booth first. I said, all right, let's do this headshot now before I walk around the trade show. And,
Yeah. And so that was fun. And what's really cool is seeing everybody's LinkedIn and whatever their profile pictures get replaced with the shots that we took. So I kind of have a little pride with that a little bit. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah. Well, I love the graphic that you put up because I literally looked through all of the individual pictures, and the number of experts in our industry that were in that graphic really blew me away.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's amazing. And so it's just a lot of fun. Right. So, all right. So we got some more comments. I guess the M&R Orbiter, I guess that's the pre-treatment thing. Frank says, I love my headshot pick. I don't know what that comment means. I don't either. Looking forward to having him. Okay. All right. Greetings, Marshall. Marshall. That's right. Thanks. Thanks, Ray. Charlie says, each of my day-long workshops had close to 50, as did my seminar. Right. Peter Walsh, yes, is part of what I mentioned on the pre-New Year show. Instead of all the shops shunning small custom orders, tool up to make a simpler profit center. DTF and DTG can do that, right? No pictures, please. Hiding my identity. Yeah, you got the plague raven thing as your thing. That's kind of funny. Charlie's sitting down with us at Rock's party for a few minutes, hearing him talk about Michelle Kaza was awesome. Always appreciate his company. Yeah, anytime we talk about Michelle Kaza is going to be awesome. Trust me. And Charlie's fantastic all the time. Our first show in Sweden, Hope is April 5/7. Sign and print Scandinavia. Hope to go. Maybe we'll have a Shirt Lab booth there. Probably not though.
Yeah, I thought Marge was going to tackle Charlie for his shirt and try to steal it away in her suitcase and get it home. He had a pretty awesome shirt on.
Well, let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about that party. What was really cool, okay, is Rock had an after party Saturday night, and it was live music and drinks and stuff. But Coolio, who that's really not my type of music, played, and let me tell you, he was surprisingly better than I thought he was going to be, and he was giving it his 100% effort, And the highlight, I think, of the whole trade show was him leaning over and serenading Tom Rowan, who was in the front row. And I have a picture of that. So I'm doing a blog wrap up in my my blog tomorrow, and there's going to be that picture in there. So if you want to see what that looks like, just read the article. But I thought that was just amazing.
Yes.
And didn't you think?
I did. I thought it was amazing. I did think that him serenading Tom was hysterical, because I think Tom has a picture of him with Coolio himself with Coolio from like 12 or 15 years ago. So I don't know. It might have been a love connection.
I wonder if he remembers them. I don't know.
I don't know. But it was cool, and he was cool afterwards. I mean, he came, took lots of pictures with people, and yeah, he gave it all. It did hurt my heart just a little bit when he sang an Eagles song and did it part rap and part song.
Yeah, I hear you. Right. But
it was great. That's not a criticism. It's just
musically, that was better than what I was going to expect. And
yes, he was great. It was a great show. That wasn't a criticism. I'm just such a diehard Eagles fan that I was like, oh, you can't do that to the Eagles.
I'm right there with you, Allie. All right, so let's get to our next topic, which we mentioned it a minute ago, which is the power of networking. And you love to network, and a lot of the trade show is the reason why people go is networking. The reason why people join Shirt Lab and do stuff with us is networking. So I want you to talk about that from your perspective. And also, if you guys are watching right now, we would love your comments about how you network and what you do and what you kind of set up for yourself by networking. So Allie, talk about networking for a minute. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I'm going to tie it in a little bit to the talk I did for the Shirt Lab Women's Nexus with building relationships. And if you remember in that one, we talked about adders, subtractors, multipliers, and dividers.
Yep.
And networking is that first step. You know, you've got people who will add to your relationship. You have people who will subtract from the relationship. People who will divide a relationship, they're very toxic, and then people who will multiply a relationship, and those are your powerhouse people that are really going to be out there promoting. Well, networking and meeting new people is the start of building those relationships.
Yep.
And you know, you've got to meet a lot of people and figure out who is going to add to your network and who's going to multiply your network, and whether that is from a customer base or whether it's from an industry base for having those go-to people to help you. You know, I feel through meeting Richard and you and Tom and Shirt Lab, you know, I can pick up the phone or send a text message when I come up against something that I really can't solve and have an answer pretty quickly. Well, if I didn't take the time to try to build those relationships and learn from all of you to begin with, you know, it would take me 100 times as long to solve those problems in my shop. So, you know, and Keith and I are in a group that meets twice a week that I know we're going to maybe hit on this if we have time, but, you know, accountability and goal setting and even just having those relationships where you're like, God, I'm just so burned out right now. Or, you know, this is what's going on in my business. And somebody that's in the industry saying, yeah, I've been there. This is what I did to solve it. Or, yeah, we're feeling the same way. You know, the first couple of weeks of January, there's a whole group of us that are like, we've got the December hangover. You know, December is such a crazy month for us in this industry.
Right. Yeah.
That right after the first of the year, we're all just like, oh, I'm tired. And knowing you're not alone in it. Knowing it's not just you and that you're not the only one making these mistakes, you know, is right. For me, that's the power of networking. Building your tribe.
That's right. Building your tribe. Well, that's what Shirt Lab Tribe is about. But, you know, I, back when I was in college, I was in a fraternity and I went to a leadership conference, and one of the speakers there taught me this phrase that serves me well, which is, your best friend is only a handshake away. And it really means you can't be scared to introduce yourself. And yeah, people are introverts, and that's certainly not me by any means, but you have to be able to go introduce yourself and ask questions and be friendly with people, because that's how you grow things, right? And that could be at your local chamber of commerce thing, that could be at a golf tournament deal, it could be at your kids' sporting event, whatever. If you just sit there and don't participate, you're not getting the maximum amount of return on your time that's there. And so I always try to make friends and introduce myself and do stuff. And I think that's really how I met a lot of people over the years, is just, that taking a minute and how can I help you, or asking questions about their business or whatever, and being really curious, I think, is a really great place to be. And just, you don't have to agree with people, right? I don't have to agree with you. I'm just curious about you, right?
Right.
And just that alone, I think really sets up a lot of stuff. And wouldn't you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, all right. So, Ray says a great part of networking I do in my segment of the industry, and many times, is just being able to provide linkages for products, materials, chemicals, and equipment for clients, even if I'm not getting immediate business or compensation. Making yourself a trusted go-to puts you in line for future work. That's exactly right. And in the promo industry, I can tell you who does a great job of that, and that's Charity Gibson, right? And she is always saying, oh, you need a whatnot, you should call this person, right? And she only sells umbrellas, but how does she know anything about magnets or power chargers? Is because she is completely networked, and that's how she gets referrals, and that's how she grows her business and does all that stuff. And it's the same way. It's the same way with what I do. It's the same way with what you do, Allie. And it's just being a person who's kind of in the middle of things, really, I think, really helps in the long run. Keith says, over 20 years in the business, but honestly, the networking in the last 3 years along had made a huge impact on myself and business, thanks to Shirt Lab as well. Amazing the contacts that are just a phone call away if needed. Exactly, Keith. Thank you for sharing that. What was really powerful is in the Shirt Lab booth, and you introducing just some person who was walking by to you guys and having you guys tell your story about Shirt Lab. I think that really was interesting, just hearing that, because as we own the company, right? Having us say it versus having you say it is always better to have your customers give the testimonial than you, right?
Right.
So very interesting. So what are your favorite networking tips? When, like, let's say you're going to a chamber of commerce thing or some place in your area, Allie, what do you try to do? How do you set up for success? How do you follow up? What do you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you've hit on it. First of all, so I am an introvert, believe it or not. It takes a lot of energy for me to go to an event and put myself out there, but I have learned how to do it. The first few times weren't great, but learned how to put myself out there and introduce myself. And how do you describe our industry to somebody that's not in it, and so they get it without giving the whole sales spiel. So think about what you're going to say when you introduce yourself. Give them enough information to know what you do, but not so much that it sounds like you're selling them. I'm really good about making sure I have business cards on me and collecting business cards. And then the key for me is the follow-up in the next couple of days, sending an email, connecting with them on LinkedIn, calling them.
Right.
And same as you, what can I do for them that I'm not selling them? I'm not charging money. Is there anybody I can connect them to? Or can I refer them to somebody else that may need their services? Because they're going to remember that. And then when they need us, or they have somebody that needs us, we'll be their go-to. Yeah.
And I always try to, it's nice to say hi to friends that and whatever. You don't want to, be a jerk or anything, but your goal at those things is to meet new people.
Yeah.
And so if you come, like sometimes we might go with somebody else from the company, I think a really good rule to have is to not sit together. And as you know, because you've been to tons of Shirt Lab events, one of the things we talk about all the time is to sit with people that you don't know. If you came with somebody from your company, you're not allowed to sit together. And the goal of every interaction is to meet new people and discover the opportunities that might, foster.
Yeah.
And I think and you'd be surprised of how many people don't carry business cards with them.
Right.
And I was just
Seems like they're old school. They just get thrown away.
I was just at a trade show, Allie, and I do a thing in my classes. Hey, I've got my business cards here. I'd love to trade business cards and, whatever. And so many people came up to take a business card, but they didn't bring one.
Right.
I'm like, how can you go to a trade show and not bring business cards? It was like, but what's really cool, Frank has a thing called Dot right on his phone that automatically transfers your contact information to somebody else's phone. And it looks really cool. And I think it's $20 or something, Frank. I haven't done it yet, but it seems like something I should do. Anybody else does that, I would love to hear more. Here's a good comment from Frank. Says Shot Talk has some good guests as well. Yeah, Ink Kitchen folks always do a really great job. Scott, being active on Facebook groups has worked well for me. Thanks, Scott. And it was really fun meeting you in person at Long Beach. And he got his headshot taken, by the way. And he's going to be on the Shirt Lab Summit. We're going to be recording his interview here shortly. So, oh, look, Alan's here. About ready to board my flight. Thank you, Allie. Thanks, Alan. Do you have your checklist? Exactly.
Always.
Right. Or business cards with incomplete contact info drives me insane. How about people who send you an email and then their contact info isn't in the signature? Frank says, I have to give credit to Nick Wood who showed me the dot. Okay, good. Ray says, don't even get me started on design of business cards and how they are executed. Sometimes your card is the only chance in a fleeting meeting to make a first impression. Exactly. By the way, I like business cards where only one side is coded. So on the other side, you can write notes on it. If you coat both sides, nobody can write on it.
And never underestimate the opportunity to network. Last night, Kimberly, who's my primary sales rep, and I went out to dinner. We were eating dinner in a bar, and admittedly, there were a bunch of rowdy guys who came over to hit on us and wanted to buy us a drink. And Kimberly was able to network that and turn it around. The guy was wearing logoed merchandise and a hat. And she's like, hey, who does your hats and shirts? And before he left, everybody was joking that she had given him her phone number, but in reality, it was her business card, so he could call us to get his shirts done.
Well, that's great.
So
that's
always
awesome.
be prepared.
Always be prepared. Always be selling.
Go hang out in bars. No, I'm kidding.
ABC. Always be closing.
Right.
All right. So we might have time for our a third one. I don't know about the fourth. Do you want to? Let's do this one first, I think.
All right.
So our first month of Q1 is in the books, just practically in the books, right? For all intents and purposes, right? So you've got 2 more months for Q1. So Allie, how did you do with January? And where are you with because I know you're a goal person. Where are you on your goals for Q1? I'm very curious and would love people to comment about whether share your stats or not, but leave a comment like what's going on.
Yeah. So I wish I could say it was by design, but we got, due to networking, we got a couple of really great referrals, and January is usually really slow for us. And this January is the biggest month in the history of the business.
Wow.
Compared to, we are 5x our January of last year. And that was 40% above the January before that.
Right. And that's top line, not bottom line, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And so the month's not over. I haven't been able to look at bottom line yet. But yeah, top line crazy. So goal wise, I always set monthly, quarterly, and yearly goals, and I track and I try to make adjustments, and I look at the data for that on a daily and weekly basis so I can make decisions quickly and be
Right.
nimble and make those adjustments. So we are on par to smash our annual goal for revenue this year.
That's great.
But now I do need to dive in to look at profit margins, cost, reducing expenses, increasing profits.
Yeah, that's good. And the phrase that I like is what gets focused on gets done, right? So
Yeah.
if you focus on growing your business, if you focus on your numbers, if you focus on profit, right? That's the stuff that's going to be apparent, and you're going to be working on that. I talk to so many shops, Allie, where, hey, how'd you do? I ask these questions all the time. How'd you do last year? Whatever. The answer I get is, I don't know yet. My accountant hadn't finished the thing. The hadn't closed the year out, haven't finished the report. I don't have that information yet. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you need this information now. How are you growing? And what are you doing? And it's like, you have to know this stuff, and you have to make changes and set some goals. Personally for me, I set a very aggressive January goal, and I'm going to come up short. But it wasn't for a lack of trying. It's just some things are taking longer to close than I thought or whatever. And, it is what it is, right? That doesn't mean I wasn't working at it, but I'm still way ahead of some other things, right? And I think it's really important that we set goals and we're working toward it. And we've got a list of the things that we're going to do, and we map out how we're going to get there with some benchmarks. Right. And so if you have a sales goal, like one of the things, you could break down, what is your average, like if you want to add another $50,000 to the month or whatever, right? So what's your average ticket size? How many extra orders is that? And you might find out it's only like one order a day or something. Right.
Right. But then Marshall, do you also know how many outbound calls you need to make to get that number of orders?
That's what I'm getting to. It's like, what do you got to do to get one more order a day? Yep. Right. It could just be 5 more phone calls or whatever. Right. So if you don't have the time, who in your business has the time? Right. It could just be reactivating older customers that you haven't talked to in a while. Instead of going after new customers, which are harder to get, let's get some people who already know and love you, right? Maybe they just forgot about you because you haven't been doing anything with them, right? So just really thinking about that. So we have some comments here. Dwayne says, I always give out 2 cards to a person so they can give the second one out to someone. I love that. That's awesome. Ray says, yes, we can. We are screen printers. You could print the back with signature ink. Just saying, I like transparent cards. Some print on both sides. Very interesting.
Yeah, I make sure my card is, whatever your game is, make sure you're not getting your cards from Vistaprint that are standard stock 14, gloss on one side, not on the other, with standard black print. I mean, we're in a creative industry. Make sure your card stands out.
Yeah, well, you got to be creative, right? Mm-hmm. I think that, and that's what Ray was saying earlier. Is like, are you designing it, or is it just looks like some hack thing?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say you're the expert in this creative field, then those cards better represent you.
And so Dan says, yes, no gloss in the back of cards. I'm always making notes, like call this one. If I don't have notes, it's just another card in the stack. I can't remember who it is. I've seen cards where they have like a line we talked about, blah, whatever. And then that way somebody, like if it's your card, they can put notes on the back of your card about what you talked about. That's kind of a cool thing. Davis is here, Mr. DTF himself. We have doubled our January sales from last year by program selling in December. That's right. January sales all happened last year, right? So also 30% done with training videos for the entire shop. He shared some with me, by the way. He's doing a killer job with that. And then Mike says, Allie is Dr. Data. You know it. Mike says she has forgotten more than some people know. I'm sure she has. Yes, screen printers can print their own cards. Of course you can, but is that something we need to be doing? If you're going to be printing your own cards, it better be awesome. That's all I got to say. We start planning on 1 week post on media, then expand to post weeks, new products. StreamYard is in the learning. Maybe Q4 weekly live, maybe. Hey, congratulations. And by the way, if you don't know, Ghost is in Sweden, so please, just ignore his spelling. We give him a break. I don't know how to spell anything in Swedish, so he's doing way better than me. Brian says, my cousin's business card is laser cut metal. That's great. I've seen business cards being challenge coins.
Yeah. So I'm
really
looking.
Awesome.
I'm looking right now. We're gonna now take and marry the dot with the business card and combine them. I'm working with a company to offer basically metal business cards with the chip in them, like your credit card chip, that then you can just carry it and tap it and it downloads the data into the phone.
Who makes that? That's cool.
Yeah. Well, call me. I'll
You're
let you know.
making that?
I'm not making them. I have a guy making them for me.
Okay.
For me to
I'm going to see you after the thing. Maybe I want that.
Okay. Sounds good.
That sounds really cool. Mike says Marge does plastic cards. Yes. Cool. All right. We got 2 seconds left. So maybe we can do just a quick thing on accountability, because I know that's something you're passionate about. You're really great at that. So, Allie, how can we keep ourselves and our employees more accountable? What's the tip?
Well, first of all, goals, make them smart, make them time bound, reasonable, have a measurement for them. Alan alluded to it. Checklists. I love my checklists for getting things done. Like you said, what gets focused on gets done. What gets scheduled gets done. What are your big 3 rocks every day? I'm going super fast because we got like a minute and 15 seconds.
Yeah. We could go slightly over, but I don't want to go too much.
All right. I take a few minutes every morning to prioritize. What are my top 3? What do I have to get done today?
Right.
And those get done first. They get scheduled on the calendar and they get done first. So by the time I came on today, my top 3 were done. So admittedly, it might be challenging to go back to work on a Friday afternoon. But the other thing that I will say is find yourself somebody in the industry that can be an accountability partner. So from Shirt Lab, we now have a group of 9 of us. We're about to have our 10th person join us this coming week, that we meet twice a week for 1 hour. And that sounds like a lot of time, but we actually are only active for 20 minutes of that hour where we're talking to each other. The other 40 minutes, we're holding each other accountable for working on our businesses instead of in our businesses. So it's not, you can't be going and doing production. You can't be printing shirts. You got to be focusing on those goals and what you're doing to move them forward. And we do that twice a week, and we hold each other all accountable for getting that done. And that group of 9 or 10 people, we have all grown our business through COVID way more, probably tenfold more than we would have had we not been holding each other accountable. So surround yourself with people like-minded that are going to hold you accountable. Make sure you've got goals that are measurable and time-bound, and make sure you're focusing on your big 3.
Yeah, something that really works for me is I have a big whiteboard here in my office where what I want to work on, what's important, is right there so I can see it. Because if it's on a checklist, it's in a program or whatever, you have to open that up to look at it. When it's on my whiteboard, you can't help but look at it because it's big, fat, and in red, and so when I'm on the phone or whatever, I'm looking, I got that little thing left to do, and then that I can cross it off the list.
Yep.
And about every, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks, the whole whiteboard's erased and I start over because I've done all the stuff, right?
Right.
And I think that really has helped me grow. And a lot of people, I was just talking with somebody at the show, is like, you like do so much stuff. How do you get it all done? Right. Well, that's how, I have a plan and I'm executing the plan. And the other thing is I'm not doing everything. I have people that help me. Right.
Right.
But I'm in charge of making sure it gets handled and done. Right. It doesn't, just because I'm not doing the task doesn't mean it's not on my radar. Right. I just have to hold people accountable. So I think that's really good.
And one of the things that I had to learn, and it took me a long time to learn it, is that my brain doesn't work the same as everybody else's. And Michael's brain doesn't work the same as mine. And Keith's brain doesn't work the same as Michael's. And so for so long, I tried to read books on productivity and follow their system. Oh, this is what's going to be successful. Oh, that one didn't work. All right, let me read the next book on productivity. And I finally came to the realization that I needed to cherry pick and figure out what really worked for me.
Exactly.
Because there was no one system from any one person that fit me. And I love your whiteboard. I think it's great. If I listed everything I needed to do on a whiteboard and have a checklist, I would be so overwhelmed that I wouldn't even start. I would just
not everything's on here, right?
Right.
I don't put everything there.
But if I have a really long list of to-dos, my brain instantly gets overwhelmed and I don't get anything done.
Sure.
And so instead, that's where I have to pick those top 3 and just focused on those 3.
Right.
And then I can get those done. And then if I have lots of time still in my day, I can go pick something else. Nothing's stopping me from doing that. But I shut down. So.
Right. Well, great. I think Mike had a comment. Looks like a film positive. Right. Yeah. For business
Marta's cards. Yeah.
Right. So, all right. Well, thank you so much today for being here, Allie, and filling in for Alan.
Yeah. I hope I was able to provide some positive input for people.
You're a rock star. What do you mean? So thank you so much. If somebody who doesn't really know who you are, what you're about, if to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
Yeah. Best way to reach me is either email, and it's just Allison@mosdinc.com. Allison's with 1 L, ALIS1. Or you can find me in the Shirt Lab Tribe group. You can hit me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Allison Banholzer. I love to connect. Love to network.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next week. And Allie, don't go anywhere. I'm just going to end the broadcast. So,
okay, sounds good.
Thanks. Talk to you guys later. See ya.